Hello friends, Pastor Doug Batchelor here. It's been a little while since we've done a Prophecy News update, but some things happened this week that we think should really capture the attention of most people, especially Protestants. I don't know if you're aware of what the Pope did on Thursday, September 12, but he had a special video where he is now setting up a date to establish a global pact with the leaders of the world to re-educate the young people of the world. This was also presented by the Vatican in written form, as well as the Pope himself reading it on a video. And the date is May 14, 2020, and he's calling for the leaders of the world to come. Well, let's just play this video. You'll have it here on your screen.
Carissimi, nell'enciclica Laudato Si.
Oh, got to stop it already. First thing he does when he presents this video is he references his encyclical that was Laudato Si from 2015. And this was the Pope's encyclical on the environment. And in this, please don't miss, he starts this whole video by referencing his famous encyclical on the environment, which says, on paragraph 237, on Sunday, our participation in the Eucharist has a special importance. Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath, is meant to be a day which heals our relationships with God, with ourselves, with others, and with the world. Now, of course, this whole encyclical on the environment is talking about what we can do to save the world, the environment, and help prevent or reverse global warming. And he actually is implying that by keeping the Sabbath, and even says going to church on Sunday, we'd let the environment rest. I'll read on here. It says the Sunday is the day of the resurrection, the first day of the new creation, whose first fruits are the Lord's risen humanity and the pledge of the final transfiguration of all created reality. It also proclaims man's eternal rest, the law of weekly rest for bad work on the seventh day. He agrees it's the seventh day. And so that your ox and your donkey may have rest, and the son of your maidservant and the stranger might be refreshed. Rest opens our eyes to the larger picture and gives us renewed sensitivity to the rights of others. So he's basically saying that, by resting and resting people, animals, the environment, it's going to help contribute towards this saving of the environment. So don't miss the point that he begins his comments by referencing his encyclical dealing with the environment.
A collaborare per custodire la nostra casa comune.
Calling everyone to care for our common home, casa comune. That means common house, meaning the world. We have to work to save the world.
Per capire quanto è urgente.
Urgente means urgency. This is urgent. It's an emergency.
Sia la sfida che abbiamo davanti, dobbiamo puntare sulla educazione, che apre la mente e i cuori ad una comprensione più larga e più profonda della realtà. Serve un patto educativo globale.
We need a global compact on education. The world needs to be re-educated, and we need the leaders of the world to come together and sign this compact. And a compact, of course, is a firm contract, promise, treaty, or an agreement. So he's calling on everybody to come together. I wonder who's going to write that out. I say facetiously, it'll probably be produced by the Vatican, and have everyone agree that we need to re-educate the world on what we need to do to save the environment.
Che ci educhi alla solidarietà universale, a un nuovo umanesimo. Per questo ho promosso un evento mondiale.
So he says we're going to promote this global event that is going to create a new universal solidarity. Now that solidarity means a new unity, and that's been his mantra through his papacy, and a new humanism he talks about. You wonder, what does a new humanism mean? Usually churches are reluctant to talk about humanistic point of view because Christians do not have the humanistic point of view. We've got the Christian worldview.
Che si terrà il 14 maggio del 2020.
So he's giving the date. It's going to happen on the 14th of May, 2020. He's inviting everyone to Rome. It's still not clear if it's actually going to be in the Vatican. The Vatican may not be big enough to house the gathering. I think they're waiting to see how many and which world leaders will respond to this invitation to agree to a new education.
In un momento di estrema frammentazione, di estrema contrapposizione, c'è bisogno di unire gli sforzi, di far nascere un'alleanza educativa per formare persone mature capaci di vivere nella società e per la società.
So he's saying we're living in a time of great fragmentation, of great division. We need to get mature people. So he's saying those that come, they're the mature ones that are going to agree. This is the only way we're going to really save the world. Come together.
Ogni cambiamento però ha bisogno di un cammino educativo. Noi non possiamo fare un cambiamento senza educare a quel cambiamento.
No, I can't disagree with what he's saying here, that if you want change, you need to educate for that change. It shouldn't surprise us that the Pope, who is a Jesuit, is talking about the importance to educate for change. This is a primary tenet of the Jesuits, is education, and they operate educational institutions all over the world. They know how important it is to train and form and, I almost used the word brainwash, people about how to think.
Un proverbio africano recita che per educare un bambino serve un intero villaggio, ma dobbiamo costruirlo, questo villaggio.
And then he quotes from a familiar proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. That was used by Hillary Clinton both prior and during her campaign. And it sounds beautiful because the word village is not like city, it's not like nation or country or some political power. It's kind of homey. So he's saying that we need to, the world, we need to look upon the world as a village. We need to come together as the village leaders and train the children of the village. And of course, he's talking about programming the children of the world is what this is dealing with.
Tutti insieme, per educare I bambini, per educare il futuro. E dobbiamo bonificare il terreno delle discriminazioni, come ho sostenuto nel documento che ho recentemente sottoscritto col grande imam di Al-Azhar ad Abu Dhabi.
All right, now, I don't know if you caught this, but this is the only individual that he cites in the whole video. Surprisingly, it's the Grand Imam of Abu Dhabi, Al-Azhar. And the Pope earlier this year in February made an unprecedented trip, first time any Pope has been to Saudi Arabia. Keep in mind, Saudi Arabia is the birthplace of Muhammad and the stronghold of Islam. I've been there several times. It's got the biggest mosque in the world. I've been there, and we did some taping there. It is an amazing thing. When we were there, meeting with Christians, it was extremely controlled. You couldn't meet right in the city. They put the Christians in this like compound enclaves outside of the city. And to let the Pope come in just really shocked me that they would do that, because there may even be more expatriate people from outside of Abu Dhabi that work in Abu Dhabi, and many of them Filipinos or Catholic, and there's about 1 million Catholics in this Islamic country, and tens of thousands of them came out when the Pope went, and he met with the Grand Imam, and they embraced each other, and he embraced the king, and was warmly welcomed. They rolled out the red carpet. And you're wondering what's going on here. Now, I've said before in other videos, don't miss the point that you've got the king of the north and the king of the south. Two of the principal religions in the world are Christianity, 2.2 billion people, and then you've got Islam with 1.7 billion people. And he said it's so important for us to first establish that we've got a joint document between these two religions and world powers so there can be peace and harmony. So that's the reason I think he's mentioning that. That document is talking about respecting the freedoms of different religions. Another reason Saudi Arabia might be very relevant now in the scheme of prophecy is, few as 2 days ago, it appears Iran has bombed these oil fields in Saudi Arabia that has the potential to really accelerate the tensions in the Middle East right now. And that's why the Pope, I think, is mentioning this.
Dobbiamo fare in modo che questo villaggio faccia crescere in tutti la consapevolezza di ciò che unisce le persone e tutte le componenti della persona, lo studio e la vita, le generazioni, i docenti e gli studenti, la famiglia e la società civile, con le sue espressioni politiche, produttive, imprenditoriali e solidali.
So he's calling together religious leaders from all different aspects of life. He talks about everything from the economy, yet to mention that, education, sports leaders, just every stripe and type of society to come together. They must be leaders in these departments. They may apply, but they must be accepted by the Vatican to come. And so he's pulling together what's going to be the who's who of the world leaders to say, we need to have this compact, this global pact, to re-educate the youth of the world. And they're expecting to change a generation's thinking.
Dobbiamo fare in modo che in questo villaggio nasca una convergenza globale per un'alleanza tra gli abitanti della terra e la casa comune.
So we're going to build an alliance between the earth's inhabitants and our common home, the world. This all sounds so good. I mean, the Bible does, after all, say God will destroy those that destroy the earth. He does want us to be sensitive, to care for the garden he planted. Man was originally designed to be a steward of God's garden in Eden. And so it all sounds beautiful, but I think you need to read between the lines, knowing what's going on in Bible prophecy. This is a very profound and stunning new advancement in the ongoing agenda of the Pope to move towards bringing together the religions of the world and the political leaders of the world, and it's being done for the children, for the environment. Who can argue with that? Sounds beautiful.
Affinché l'educazione sia creatrice di pace, di giustizia, sia accoglienza tra tutti i popoli della famiglia umana, nonché di dialogo tra le loro religioni.
Now, I don't know if you caught that last statement. He says, all people of the world, from all religions. Sounds like Revelation 13. He causes all, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, every nation, tongue, and people. And he's really just encompassed all of that in that last sentence.
Un villaggio universale.
A universal village. What a beautiful way to say a global law, compelling people to think and worship a certain way.
Ma un villaggio anche personale di ognuno. Dobbiamo fondare i processi educativi sulla consapevolezza che tutto nel mondo è intimamente connesso ed è necessario trovare altri modi di intendere l'economia, la politica, la crescita e il progresso.
All right, so here he's saying the whole world is now interconnected. We need to find a new way to manage our economy. A part of what he's saying there is we need to spread the wealth around, which always applies to the masses of the world, which would love to hear that. But right there again, he encompassed the politics, the nations of the world, the economy of the world. Everything needs to be addressed in this global pact.
Dobbiamo avere il coraggio di formare persone disponibili a mettersi al servizio della comunità.
So now he's saying it's not just that we're going to train the children. He said this is going to be a program that we will train willing individuals to train the children.
Per questo desidero incontrarvi a Roma per promuovere insieme ed attivare questo patto educativo.
So how could you reject an invitation from the Pope? He's inviting the leaders to come. He says, I want to meet you in Rome so that we can promote this educational alliance, a global educational alliance of the world.
Insieme a voi faccio appello a tutte le personalità pubbliche.
Now he's saying, not only am I sending a personal invitation to the public leaders of the world, I want you to join me in urging them to participate in this. So he's actually going right to the grassroots people and saying, you tell your world leaders, the political leaders, the business leaders, the economic leaders, he even says sports personalities, anyone that has influence, they're to be encouraged by the people to come to this meeting where they will sign a global pact. Makes you wonder. I mean, maybe it's harmless, but it makes the believe it or not, the hair stand up on my neck.
Che a livello mondiale sono già impegnate nel delicato settore dell'educazione delle nuove generazioni. Ho fiducia che non si tireranno indietro.
So we're going to educate future generations and we will not back down. That's what he just said.
Cerchiamo insieme di trovare soluzioni, avviare i processi di trasformazione senza paura.
I think it's interesting. He said, we'll get together and we'll try and find solutions. You can almost be sure that when they arrive, there'll be something already written. Typically, it's a law of life, but the one who sets the date for a meeting, who sets the agenda for the meeting, who says the place for the meeting, is leading the meeting. And so there's no question about who is in charge here of this meeting.
Invito ciascuno di voi ad essere protagonista di questa alleanza.
Calls an alliance.
L'appuntamento è per il giorno 14 maggio 2020 a Roma. Vi aspetto e fin d'ora vi saluto e benedico. Grazie.
Thank you. He gives out his blessing. He says, I'm looking forward. I expect to see you there. And this is a very direct appeal to the people and to the leaders of the world to come May 14, 2020 to Rome. It may be in some larger assembly area or even in the Vatican, where he's going to say we need a global pact to bring the world together, to educate our young people, to help save the environment and tangible things we can do. And he starts out by referencing his encyclical on the environment, where he specifically mentions the Sabbath, among other things. Well, friends, I couldn't let this pass without saying something about it. You know, something else that was in the article that was issued by the Vatican on this, it says, we're inviting international organizations, and you can look these things up at the Vatican websites for yourself. We're inviting international organizations, and note this, the great ones of the earth. Boy, that jumped out at me because it sounds exactly like Revelation 18, where it says, the merchants of Babylon, the great ones of the earth. That's what it says in the Bible. By which all the nations of the earth were deceived with Satan's sorcery. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that this is something to keep our eyes on. It will be very interesting to see how many Protestant leaders and educators and from where respond to this invitation and say, sign me up. I'm coming, Pope. I'd like to find out more about this global pact. And we need to be praying as that day approaches. You know, the Bible tells us that the wheel of prophecy may turn slowly, but it turns surely and truly. And I think we've just seen another cog in the wheel, another tick of the hand, another ding in the bell of God's prophecy clock. So we'd encourage you to look at our video called The Bride, the Beast, and Babylon. It helps you understand why issues like this are important. It's very important. At the website here, there'll be a link, I think, where you can look and see how you can get more information about that. Also encourage you to have your friends like this video, pass it on. Every time they like it, it makes it easier for other people to find it. Be praying and stay tuned until we have our next Prophecy News Update. Hello friends, Pastor Doug Batchelor here with Amazing Facts. From time to time people have asked why we haven't done a Prophecy News Update. Usually it's because I haven't had any significant prophecy news. Well, I think today's an exception. This morning, the Pope gave a special address. Matter of fact, I'll show you a little video that comes from St. Peter's Square.
In his catechesis, the Pope reflected on the commandment to keep holy the Lord's Day and spoke of the meaning of rest.
Now, in the Pope's discourse, this is a new series he began June 13 this year on the Ten Commandments, doing what they call a catechesis. It's the Pope's teachings, a special series. And in this one, he in particular is focusing on the importance of Sunday, which you can see they call the Lord's Day. I'm not going to play it all. Of course, it's in Italian, and there are subtitles. You can see the video for yourself online. But here's the headline, and this is from the Catholic News Agency and Eternal Word television network. It says, the commandment to rest on Sundays is an invitation to be centered on Christ. Wait a second. Where is a commandment to rest on Sunday? It says the commandment to rest on Sunday. I don't see a commandment anywhere in the Bible to rest on Sunday. I know a famous evangelist that used to offer his audience $1,000 if they could produce one verse in the Bible that says we are commanded to rest on Sunday as the Sabbath. I'd extend that offer. If you know of one, please send it to us. Anyway, the Pope says the commandment to rest on Sunday is an invitation to be centered on Christ and to give praise and thanksgiving for the gift of life. He goes on the next passage. For us, Christians, the center of the Lord's Day, Sunday, is the Eucharist, which means thanksgiving. It's the day to say thank you to God. Thank you, Lord. And he goes on, well, where in the Bible is Sunday called the Lord's Day? I'll tell you where they get that. If you look in Revelation chapter 1, it says, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's Day. That's verse 10. People say, oh, there you have the Lord's Day, Sunday. But where in the text does it say that it's the first day of the week or that it's Sunday? Indeed, the Bible actually says the Lord's Day is the seventh day. Here's just a few examples. Isaiah chapter 58:13 calls the Sabbath my holy day. In Exodus chapter 20, in the Ten Commandments, it says the Sabbath of the Lord. The Lord's Day is the Sabbath day. Jesus said the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath day. But the prophecies said that the Antichrist power, you can read about this in Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, would think to change times and laws. I'll read on here. Continuing his general audience catechesis on the Ten Commandments, Francis spoke out about Sunday as the day of rest. Now, when the Catholic Church talks about the Ten Commandments, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I believe they are a fulfillment of the power that would think to change times and laws. There's only one commandment that is both a time and a law. That's the Sabbath commandment. But they did more in changing the law. If you look in the Catholic version of the Ten Commandments, and you can see these out in front of some Catholic churches, you'll notice that they eliminate the second commandment about idolatry. They move up the fourth commandment, make it the third commandment, and then you'll say, well, but how do they end up with 10 when they've deleted a commandment? They take the 10th commandment, when it says thou shalt not covet, and they say don't covet your neighbor's wife, that's one, and then don't covet your neighbor's goods, and they separate the 10th commandment that way. The Jews, nobody else dissected the 10 commandments that way. They changed times and laws.
Il concetto di vita oggi dominante non ha il baricentro nell'attività e nell'impegno, ma nell'evasione. Guadagnare per divertirsi, appagarsi.
I'll read on. He, continuing his teaching on Sunday, he said, man has never rested as much today, yet man has never experienced as much emptiness as today. What then is the rest according to this commandment? Again, he's talking about Sunday. He asked, it is the moment of contemplation. It is a moment of praise and not of evasion. And he gets a little bit New Agey in his explaining and how we're supposed to keep Sunday. Jumping down, this is how Catholics should aim to spend Sunday, he said, not erasing the previous 6 days with distractions, speaking of Sunday being the seventh day, but the Bible doesn't say Sunday's the seventh day, and reflecting on the past week, thanking God for its blessings and its challenges. He quoted the words of Genesis at the end of the creation, when God saw what he had done, and behold, it was very good. Now you find that at the end of Genesis chapter 1, when God made everything on 6 days, he said everything was very good. Then you go into Genesis chapter 2, it says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them, and on the seventh day God rested, and he blessed the seventh day, and he made the seventh day holy. 3 times it tells us there at the very beginning, 777. The seventh day is the day that God blessed. Whereas the beast power is identified by a number 666. That's just a curiosity I thought you might find interesting. Well, friends, in spite of what's happening right now, where the Catholic Church is in the news in connection with allegations about sexual abuse, and some are calling for the Pope's resignation because they say he was involved in covering these things up, I'd advise you not to hold your breath and wait for the Pope to resign. I don't think that's going to happen. He is not holding back on his agenda. Sabbath-keeping Protestants for many years have said that there's going to be a showdown in the last days regarding the commandments. Don't forget, the Bible tells us that in the book of Daniel, chapter 3, the people of God had to make a decision. Do we obey the law of Babylon or the law of God? They decided not to pray to Nebuchadnezzar's image, and they went to the fiery furnace. That was the second commandment about idolatry. You go to Daniel chapter 6. Daniel had to make a decision. Do I obey the law of Medo-Persia, or do I obey the first commandment? Do not have other gods before me. Daniel would not pray to King Darius. He went to the lion's den. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego were delivered from the fiery furnace. Daniel was delivered from the lion's den. In the last days, those who do not worship the beast in his image, they're going to be persecuted. They cannot buy or sell, will ultimately go. They'll be under a death decree, I should say. And God's people in the last days need to have the same reverence and understanding for the importance of the Ten Commandments. Yet most Protestants are forgetting that God means what he says. They're not the 10 recommendations. So, prophecy's marching on. We see another example of it today. The Pope has not changed his agenda. The beast has not changed her colors. We have a special offer. We want you to understand this subject. And anybody watching this YouTube video, if you would like to know more about it, there's a classic book by Joe Cruz called The Beast, the Dragon, and the Woman. And you click on the link that you'll see on your screen. You can download this for free. We hope you'll read it, send the link to other people. Let me just share with you what some of the contents are you find in here. The beast and his background, the dragon and the woman, the number and the mark of the beast, and the United States in prophecy. I can't think of a book that'd be more relevant now. Download the book. I hope that you'll like this and refer people to our video page and pass it on. Imagine a world in total turmoil where you would not be allowed to purchase the basic necessities like food, water, and gas. A world that strips you of all of your rights and freedoms unless you agree to possess a certain fateful mark in your forehead or your hand. A mark that represents a license or permission to live in the world's final civilization. You have probably heard about the infamous Mark of the Beast and the ominous number 666. Where did it come from? Why is it so dangerous, and how do you avoid getting it? In fact, how do you know you don't have it now? The Bible says that in the end of time, everybody will be required to receive the Mark of the Beast. And if you don't receive this mark, at first you won't be able to buy or sell, and ultimately you'll be killed.
He causes all to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except the one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
In fact, verse 15 says those who don't worship the image of the beast should be killed. The Bible is clear. Death would be preferable to the curses that fall on the one that receives the mark of the beast. But how can you avoid receiving this mark if you don't even know what it is? There are a lot of misconceptions about what the mark of the beast is. Some, for example, believe the mark of the beast is a barcode or a tattoo that is branded on the forehead or the hand. Others believe that the mark is some form of computerized ID chip that's inserted under the skin. And then there's still others that think that everybody is going to be told to line up and receive their 666 credit card. While the number 666 is associated with the name of the beast, the number itself is not the mark. You don't get the mark of the beast by driving a car with 666 on your license plate. And you'll probably not be struck by lightning if you sit in seat number 666 at some arena or sporting event. The truth is that the mark of the beast is not a physical external mark at all. What's even more surprising is that most people don't realize the Bible teaches everybody in the last days will have one of two marks. One group has the seal of God in their foreheads. The other group has the mark of the beast. The seal of God is having the law of God in our hearts.
And these words that I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. It shall be as a sign to you on your hand, and as a memorial between your eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth.
So we can see from these examples, in the hand and in the forehead is symbolic of having the law of God in our actions and in our thoughts. That would mean that the mark of the beast in the hand or the forehead is also not a physical external mark, but rather it represents some distinguishing difference in the thoughts and the actions of the lost.
Their works are works of iniquity, and the act of violence is in their hands. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity.
In the hand, in the actions, in the head, in the thoughts. It's a symbol. The Bible says in the end of time, everybody will receive some form of mark. It's not going to be a tattoo or a computer chip or a credit card. That's just what the devil wants people to think. Satan has managed to get just about everybody to focus looking in the wrong direction, while the real mark of the beast is creeping up right behind them. So what does the mark of the beast symbolize? Nobody has it yet, but soon many will. You need to make sure it's not you. There are few subjects that are more misunderstood, and very few subjects that need to be understood more. Every kingdom, empire, and monarch that rises ultimately falls, all except for one. This one eternal kingdom has an everlasting God that has revealed himself through a special seal that he's given to the world. But before this eternal kingdom comes, his followers will be stripped of all of their rights, forbidden to buy and sell, and eventually face execution, unless they receive another seal, a mark that gives homage to a different God, the beast of Revelation. From our prior video, we learned that in the last days, there will be two significant seals or signs, and that every person will ultimately receive one of these two opposite marks. We also know that both of these marks are hidden. They represent our actions, our thoughts, and our worship. We need to uncover what they really are, because one is a mark of loyalty to God, and the other is a mark of loyalty to the beast. But before we can discover what the mark of the beast is, we must first understand what is the seal of God. Typically, a seal has the name identifying the authority, the title of that authority, and the territory the authority governs. For example, when Jesus was put in the tomb, the government seal was placed on the stone door at the entrance. It no doubt read, Pontius Pilate, Governor, Judea. So does God have a seal? And if so, what is it?
Seal the law among my disciples.
So we can clearly see the sign or seal is connected with the law of God. So where do we find the seal in the law? It's in the Ten Commandments, hidden in plain sight within the fourth commandment.
Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Right here within the law of God, in the longest of the Ten Commandments, in the middle of his law, we find God's seal, the name of the authority, the Lord, the title of the authority, Creator, and his territory, the heavens and the earth. The scriptures also say the Sabbath is a sign.
Moreover, I also gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between them and me, that they might know that I am the Lord who sanctifies them.
This is the seal of God, friends, to remember and to keep the Sabbath day holy, and to have the law of God written in our hearts. That's the seal. And wouldn't it make complete sense that the beast of Revelation would create a counterfeit seal to compete with God's true seal? With this in mind, we're now better prepared to understand what the mark of the beast really is. Please join me in my next video as we unveil who is the beast of Revelation 13 and what is his mark. Or visit 666truth.org.
Sok szeretettel köszöntök mindenkit. Ma pásztor Andrew Henriques betekintését szeretném veletek megosztani, ami május 2-án hangzott el angol nyelven. Én ennek az összefoglalását készítettem el magyar nyelven, tehát betekintést a proféciák teljesedésébe, a napjainkban zajló eseményeket megvizsgálva. Ez az angol eredeti a Prophesies Again Ministry YouTube oldalán tekinthető meg, ott találhatók a hivatkozási forrásokkal együtt. Ferenc pápa a pápai beiktatásakor azt mondta, hogy az ő pápasága nagyon rövid idejű lesz. Akkor 2013 márciusában, amikor a beiktatása volt, azt mondta, hogy körülbelül olyan 3 és 5 év közöttre tagsálja ezt az időt. Most 2019-et írunk, tehát ez 6 évvel ezelőtt hangzott el. A pápa szolgálati ideje tehát most hosszabb már, mint ahogy ő előre jelezte, illetve amennyi idő alatt a tervét szerette volna eljuttatni a világhoz. A pápa nagyon gyorsan halad előre, nagyon kitartóan és agresszívan dolgozik. Az újságcikk, ami a minap jutott el Andrew Henriques testvérhez, a catholicnewsagency.com, tehát egy katolikus hírügynökség szalagcímében közölte a következőket Ferenc pápától. A közös jó globálissá vált. Ez egy ijesztő megállapítás. Mi az a közös jó? Ezt az angolban common goodnak is emlegetik. Magyarra fordítva, hogy egy közös jót jelent. Tehát mi ez a közös jó? Egy amerikai római katolikus szenátor, Bob Casey, a következőképpen fogalmaz a közös jóról. A közös jó, vagy common good, egy római katolikus tanítás a társadalomról. Ezt a megállapítását 2015-ben tette Bob Casey, amikor a pápa amerikai látogatását tette, és amikor a pápa a közös ülésen vett részt az amerikai kongresszusban. Nézzük meg, hogy mi volt a pápa legfontosabb témája ezen az ülésen. A közös jó. Mielőtt az Egyesült Nemzetekhez ment, Ferenc pápa 2015-ben és a világ vezetőivel beszélt, mi volt a fő témája? Szintén a közös jóról beszélt. Figyeljük meg, hogy mit mond Ferenc pápa a közös jóról a Laudato Si-ben. A 169. paragrafus így szól. A nemzeteknek föl kell adniuk a nemzeti érdekeiket a közös jóért. A nemzetek vezetőinek biztosítaniuk kellene a személyi jogokat, a személyi érdekeket, viszont a közös jóért, a globalizációért úgy tűnik, hogy föl kell, hogy adják a személyi jogokat. Amikor a pápa Amerikában volt, így nyilatkozott. A közös jó kell, hogy a fő célja legyen minden politikának. A politika az a kifejezése, ami kényszerítő szükségletünknek az élethez, illetve ahhoz, hogy építkezni tudjunk. A legjobb és legnagyszerűbb közös jó, amikor a közösség vagy egy közösség áldozatot hoz egy különleges ügyért. Tehát a globális közös jóért nekünk áldozatokat kell hoznunk, föl kell adnunk a személyi szabadságunkat. Ne az én szavamra figyeljetek, mondja Andrew Henriques testvér. Fel fogom olvasni, idézni fogom, amit a pápa maga mond, hogy megerősítsem ezt a pontot. A következőképpen fogalmazott Ferenc pápa. Idézem. Sokkal több, mint a nemzeti érdek, ez onnét indul, hogy mi a legjobb nekem, mi a legjobb mindenkinek. Tehát mit mond a pápa? Mit kell minden nemzetnek érvényesítenie az éghajlatváltozással kapcsolatban? Az ő válasza, az ő megoldása a vasárnapi nyugalomnap. A globális klímaváltozással kapcsolatos akcióban a vasárnapi pihenőnapot kell bevezetni ahhoz, hogy megállítsuk a változásokat a klímában. Minden nemzetnek el kell fogadnia ezt a szabályzatot, tehát aki csatlakozik ehhez a mozgalomhoz, annak föl kell adnia a személyi érdekeit, jogait a közös jóért. Nemrégiben a Vatikán rádióban hangzott el a pápa egy kijelentése arról, hogy a vallásnak nem kellene korlátozódnia a személyes lelkiismeretre. Tehát az újságban megjelent főcikk, hogy visszatérjünk ehhez, a pápa nyilatkozatához, a közös jó globálissá vált. Ez azt jelenti, hogy a pápa tudatja velünk, hogy a vasárnap törvény készen van arra, hogy globálissá váljon. Mi pedig proféciát ismerők tudjuk azt, hogy amikor a vasárnap törvényt forszírozni fogják, közeledünk a próbaidő lezárulásához. Vagy el leszünk pecsételve a mennynek, vagy az örök kárhozatra. Tehát itt az időtestvéreim hangzik a felhívás Andrew Henriques testvértől, hogy felébredjünk. Tudjuk, hogy a pápa ezt meg fogja csinálni, tudjuk, hogy Isten tartja kezét a profétikus időórán, és ebben nincs tévedés. A próbaidő nagyon gyorsan záródik. A körülöttünk levő jelek abszolút értelemben ezt támasztják alá. A katolikus tanítás szerint mi a jó ebben a közös jóban a világnak? Az irányító testület fogja meghatározni, hogy mi a közös jó. Tehát a közös jóért kell, hogy forszírozzák a vasárnapot. Az említett cikkben tehát Ferenc pápa azt mondja, hogy már globálissá vált, vagyis ezt a római katolikus elméletet, tanítást a társadalomról minden nemzetközösség, minden nemzet és vagy közösség elfogadta. Ez nem az egyház és az állam egyesülése? Ezek nem azok az eszközök átvitt értelemben, amelyek Dániel könyvében szereplő vas és agyag elegyedése? Ebben a május 2-ai, tehát csütörtöki cikkben arra kéri a pápa a nemzeteket, hogy dolgozzanak együtt a globális közös jóért, különösen a klímaváltozásra való tekintettel, de megemlíti még az embercsempészetet és a nukleáris fenyegetettséget is. A jelenlegi globalizációs helyzet nem csak gazdasági kérdés, hanem technológia és kulturális vonatkozásai is vannak. A nemzetállamok nem képesek többé egyedül beszerezni a közös jót a népességüknek, mondta a pápa, ami május 2-án hangzott el a Pontifik Akadémia társadalomtudományi szakán. Tehát mit jelent is ez pontosan? Hogy a nemzetállamok nem képesek többé egyedül beszerezni a közös jót a népességüknek? Ez azt jelenti, hogy segítségre szorulnak. Ez a globalizációt jelenti, mint megoldást, a világkormányt, egy nemzetközi szervezetet. Itt tartunk, barátaim, mondja Andrew Hendrikes testvér. Itt vagyunk ennél a pontnál. Tehát a nemzetek elfogadták ezt a római katolikus tanítást a társadalomról. Ellen White beszélt arról, hogy az USA szárnyai és támogatása alá fogja venni a római katolikus elveket és tanításokat. Barátaim, látjátok ezt? A nemzeteknek a saját érdekükben társulniuk kell egymással. Néhány nemzet azonban még nem megfelelő lelkületű, mondja a pápa, mert még ellenzéki lelkületük van, nem együttműködőek. Ez nem fenyegetésként hangzik? És melyik nemzetre céloz itt a pápa? Esetleg Amerikára? Nem Amerikára gondol itt? A Review and Herald 1897. évi június 15-i számában a következőket írta Ellen White. Római katolikus elvek lesznek támogatva és felkarolva az állam által. Ez az idézet 1897-ből való. Láthatjátok, hogy Ellen White írása valósul meg itt. A pápa a továbbiakban arról beszél, hogy szupernacionális közös jóra van szükség. Mit jelent ez a szupernacionális szó? Nem természetfeletti, supernaturális, hanem szupernacionális, tehát nemzetek felettit jelent. A pápa tehát a klímaváltozást a nemzetek feletti közös jóval azonosítja. Azt mondja, hogy szükséges egy speciális jogi hatóság, ami segít a megoldásban. Kit fognak speciális jogi hatóságnak tekinteni ennek az ügynek a megoldásában? A proféciák alapján mi nagyon jól tudjuk, hogy ki lesz az. A Vatikán, a pápaság. Ne az én szavaimnak higgyetek, nézzétek meg Jelenések könyve 13. fejezetének 2. versében. Mit olvashatunk? És a sárkány adta az ő erejét annak, és az ő székét és nagy hatalmat. Tehát széket és nagy hatalmat. Mit jelent ez a nagy hatalom? Máté 8 alapján tudhatjuk, hogy aki képes megmondani, ide vagy oda menjen, ki mit csináljon. Tehát a pápaság azt mondja, hogy ennek a nemzetek feletti szervezetnek kell lennie annak, aki meg tudja oldani az éghajlatváltozással kapcsolatos küzdelmeket. Itt egészen egyszerűen azt mondja ki, hogy olyan kormányzatra van szükség, amelynek hatalma és befolyása túlnyúlik a határokon, nemzeteken. Rendelhet, utasíthat, irányíthat az ereje és a hatalma által minden nemzet felett. Melyik országot követik az országok a klímaváltozással kapcsolatban? Mindannyian tudjuk, hogy a Vatikánt. A Vatikán és sok politikus és a közvélemény azt gondolja, hogy a klímaváltozás az egyben morális kérdés is, ezért morális megoldásnak is kell követnie. A Vatikán az az egyedüli morális tekintély, illetve hatóság ma, napjainkban, aki képes fellépni ebben a problémában. És mindez ma a szemünk előtt történik meg. A profécia a szemünk előtt teljesedik. Fel kell ébrednünk. Föl kell ébredni, barátaim. Az említett előadáson, ahol a pápa nyilatkozott, utalt Aquinói Szent Tamásra. Aquinói Szent Tamás egy középkori domokos rendi szerzetes volt, a római katolikus egyház egyik legnevezetesebb hittudósa. Ő volt az, aki kiállt a közös jó célért, az ő idejében, az ő korában, és szerinte halálbüntetést lehetett alkalmazni az közös jó biztosításának, megőrzésének érdekében. Így vélekedett. A katolikus egyház nem mindig felejti el a halálbüntetést. Halálbüntetéssel támogatjuk a közös jót. Ebből adódóan, ha egy ember veszélyes és fertőző a közösségre, vagy valamilyen bűn miatt, akkor dicséretes és előnyös megölni azért, hogy megmentsük Istent és a közös jót. Remélem, jól hallottátok. Tehát, hogyha egy ember veszélyes és fertőző a közösségre, valamilyen bűn miatt, akkor dicséretes és előnyös megölni azért, hogy megmentsük Istent és a közös jót. Tudjuk Jelenések könyve 13. fejezetéből, hogy akik nem fogják imádni a fenevadat és nem veszik föl annak bélyegét, azok megöletnek majd. Ne felejtsük el, hogy az inkvizíciós társulat a Vatikánban a mai napig életben van. Láthatjuk, hogy a pápaság ellentmondó programja itt van a látóhatárunkon. Ha Jézus most a Gecsemáné kertbe vinne bennünket, tudva, hogy Júdás halad a maga útján, és az egyház és az állam szintén haladnak a maguk útján, mit mondana nekünk Jézus? Tudnál velem figyelni egy órára? A lélek kész, de a test erőtelen. Itt az idő, hogy imádkozzunk, és figyelnünk kell, folyamatosan, és meg nem lankadni. Ébereknek maradnunk, szemünket az érkező Júdáson tartani, az egyház és az állam összefonódására figyelni, mert ez a hitehagyó egység fogja hozni az üldözést. Mi volt Jézus imája a Gecsemáné kertben, a válságot megelőző órában? Atyám, ha lehetséges, múljon el tőlem ez a pohár, de ne az én akaratom legyen meg, hanem a tiéd. Megerősödött Jézus a válságra? Később még félt? Ha Jézus lépéseit követjük, akkor mi is meg fogunk erősödni, és erős hit fog találkozni a válsággal. Azt mondom nektek, hogy türelem és kitartás szükséges. A hit hallásból van. Mennyi időt töltünk naponta az igével? Kérlek, vegyétek a szívetekre. Nem tudjuk, hogy mennyi időnk van hátra. Isten gyermekeit ébresztenünk, figyelmeztetünk kell a közeledő veszélyre. Azért engedi meg Isten, hogy lássuk ezeket a jeleket, hogy Isten gyermekeit tegyenek, dolgozzanak, felfedjék ezeket a terveket mások előtt is. Ébredjünk fel, és lássuk meg, hogy Jézus az ajtó előtt áll. Itt az idő, hogy felébredjünk, és meglássuk, hogy a mi megváltásunk közelebb van, mint ahogy gondolnánk.